Greetings and salutations, friends and comrades. I am Admiral Andre, and I welcome you back to Transport Fever. It's been overdue now for a little while, but it's time to get back into the campaign missions. I'm still deciding whether to do all of them or only some of them. On my own playthrough now that I'm doing off camera, I'm actually on the last of the missions now of the European section of the campaign, so this will be the very last one that I'm doing now. And this actually allows me the opportunity to look back and reflect over all of the missions of the campaign, but I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I can say that there are quite a number of fun things that lie ahead, so it's a lot to look forward to actually. Anyway, let's get into the Panama Canal, which is the one that I mentioned at the end of our last mission. So we just go to campaign. He just explains about the land of opportunity, and oh yes, if you don't want to see the missions that lie ahead, just look away now, because there will be a list of all of the US missions, and we'll only be going on the third one now. So anyway, I'll just let my assistant here discuss with us what lies ahead in Panama, and then we can get started. So let me just click there.
The world in 80 days is a thing of the past. It needs to be much faster these days if global trade is to flourish. The transcontinental railroad is all well and good, but it's far too inefficient for the constant growing needs and large quantities of goods in transit. But there is one project that promises to redress this, a ship canal that connects the oceans in the east and west. In this way, large amounts of cargo can be transported easily and conveniently. He who controls this canal controls global trade and thus the entire world.
Absolutely. So now we're really getting into the 20th century. Up until now, we've been busy in the 1800s. I think we left off actually at the turn of the century in Pittsburgh, but now it's time to move a little bit ahead. Now you can see I've only got 2 of the medals here, so that's something I'd like to work on in this particular playthrough. Anyway, we can discuss them once we get into it, so let's just start it up there.
The 20th century is young and the climate is tropical. The French project on the Chagres River is swamped with problems, as it were. Their coffers are empty and thousands of workers have fallen to a mysterious illness. This is the opportunity for our great nation. The construction of the canal requires great logistical skill. The debris that accumulates during the excavation of the canal needs to be removed. And the workers need to remain as healthy and well-fed as possible so that things proceed as quickly as possible. Let's help with the construction project of the century.
Excellent. So there we go. It's now 1904 and we are jumping in Panama. Of course, the history of the Panama Canal is a very interesting one. And as they allude to here, the French were actually the first to try in Panama to build a canal, but that was a dramatic failure, and several thousand of the workers died due to yellow fever and malaria. And then, of course, the USA got involved. They first had to decide whether to build the canal in Panama or through Nicaragua. And they settled on Panama, which was at that time part of Colombia, so there's a lot of political intrigue and history there, so I would certainly recommend that you look into that if you're interested. Anyway, let's just see what they say for us now.
First of all, the workers we've enticed here from the nearby islands require supplies. They need wood to build primitive accommodation, and enough sustenance so that they don't just keel over. Some of them look quite sick.
Okay, very important, of course, we have to take care of our people who work on the canal. We are not going to repeat the mistakes of the French. So let me just close this. Always the first thing that I do is just to step back and look at the whole situation before we jump into the specifics of anything. So this is now obviously the section of Panama where the canal is going to be built, and here is Panama City on the Pacific. So this is the Pacific side of Panama. Then here is the section, I think this is called the Culebra Cut, that they are going to actually excavate through the side of this mountain or hill here. And we are going to be responsible for moving the stone away from this section. So that's our main mission here. Then we get the Chagres River here, which goes all the way past Gamboa to Colon, and this is of course on the Caribbean and Atlantic side, since the Caribbean is anyway connected to the Atlantic. So that just gives us the overview. We have 3 cities to work with, and it's quite a big map actually. If we just have a look, we can't even see really the other side. So there is definitely a demand for passenger movement here. And actually, if we go back and look at history, the Panama Canal Railway was already finished in the 1850s. Again, costing thousands of lives to build. Of course, the conditions were still very harsh, and the cost was very dear. But anyway, the railroad there is of course still in operation, but that's definitely then again a cue that we can take from history to help our company. So connecting Colon, Gamboa and Panama City will be a must as soon as possible. The next thing then will be, as they said now, we must supply the central warehouse in Colon. So Colon is our distribution center for our workforce, you can think of it like that. And there is a central warehouse, much like there was in the first mission, the Transcontinental Railroad that we had to supply in Cheyenne. So this time they want logs and they want wheat. But now again, very important, the first time I played through this, I made the mistake because it's quite tempting here. You see there's the logs in the forest, and then there is a place that actually makes planks. So I ship the logs to the planks and then the planks to the warehouse, but they don't want planks, they want logs, so the raw material. And of course the same with the wheat, but the wheat must first be processed into food if you want to send it to the city itself. So we can't send it to the city, it's only for the warehouse. So that's the first thing that we have to do. There's some other things that will pop up as the mission progresses, so I won't say too much about that. But I think just as an overview, I had to look this up actually before starting this recording, because I find it so interesting if we just look at the actual canal itself. So obviously Panama City here is on the Pacific. So then we get the Miraflores locks on the canal. This is now the finished canal. Then it passes here through Miraflores Lake, which will be somewhere here, I guess. And then it goes through the Pedro Miguel locks, I guess somewhere there. Then you get the Culebra Cut, which is the part that we're excavating now. Then you get the Chagres River. Then you get Gamboa, which was actually built for the canal project to house some of the workers. Then we get the Gatun River and the Gatun Lake, which is a large artificial lake. And then finally we get the Gatun Locks before we leave at Colon and head off into the Atlantic and Caribbean seas. So very interesting. It's just obviously it doesn't reproduce reality perfectly, but the game must make some shortcuts. But again, it entices at least me to learn more about the canal and its construction, so it's very interesting. Anyway, let us get started now before I ramble too much and a whole episode passes without anything happening. So the first thing, of course, to do is just to create the drop-off point here in Colon for the warehouse, and this can be a small truck station. Just put it there so it reaches. Then we should have one that collects the wheat from the farm. Just somewhere there. I guess this can be a small one as well. The journey times are so short that it will never really pile up, I think. Then there's one in this forest for the logs as well. Let me just open that one. And I think it will just save us time if I put it on the main road here instead of on the arm, because then the trucks won't have to actually turn off. But it's still connected, of course. The owners of this logging camp will make sure to supply the truck stop there. Then we just need one more thing, which is of course the vehicle depot, and I do like to put that in the industrial sections of a town because it is a workshop after all. So somewhere here, I think. There we go. So now I just need to make the lines to take the wheat from the farm to the warehouse to feed our workers. So I'll just say this is colon wheat, and another one that will have the same endpoint but will start here in the forest. So this will be colon logs. Now there is of course the interesting prospect of shipping the logs to the sawmill here as well, but the city still can't use it. It needs to be construction materials, so that's something we cannot do, but we will need the planks for something else. So let's just buy a few of our vehicles here. You see, it's very clever how they do this campaign. At least, you know, the European one and the American one, they do have a sort of a progression, I would say. Not a literal one, but since we're now after the time that we stopped the previous mission, yet you can see we still start with a steam lorry, which is what we unlocked at the end of that Pittsburgh mission. So it doesn't make a huge jump ahead into the future, which I love. So let's just put the logs. Let's say this one has a bit of a longer journey, so I'll say about 7 or 8 of them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's round it up to 10. Why not? Then colon logs. But definitely for the wheat one we don't need as many because it's very short. So I'll just say where's the wheat now? It's not alphabetic, so sometimes I get a bit lost here. Can this one not do wheat? It doesn't look like grain, of course. It's not called wheat. There we go. So about 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why not? And that one will supply the town with wheat. So we can just let it run now, maybe at medium speed, which is 2 times speed, and let it get started. Actually a bit faster, why not? So, oh yes, very important. Before we actually run the clock, there's something we have to do, and that's look at the medals, because again they give us a guideline for what we should be doing in this mission. And it says here, the first one, pride of the nation, make the president proud by ensuring that the canal can be completed before 1924. So this is our mission end date. We really have to keep that in mind because it's so easy to miss that, as we saw with the last mission. So we've got exactly 20 years to finish this, which is not actually a lot of time. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Then this one, I don't know, I can't remember if I don't think I got this one last time either. Secure funding. Make sure that you never miss an opportunity to spend the money at your disposal. I'm good at that. Your account balance should never grow to an 8-figure sum. Now 8 figures will be like 10 million or above. So as long as we stay with 7 figures in the millions, we're fine, but we have to spend our money before it reaches the 10 million mark, which is actually a very interesting dynamic because it's sort of the opposite of what you usually get, which is don't get more loans or something. In this case, you have to not have a huge amount of money. Then there's another thing about a frog, which we can look at later. And there's another one about the Culebra Passage and something about the stone. But we don't need to look at that yet because we're not dealing with that part of the mission yet. So we just have to keep in mind 1924. Let's have a look at the town. Lovely area of Colombia. So, not Colombia, I guess. At this point, it's no longer Colombia. You see my history is coming in there. So Panama. So yes, very, very interesting.
Doctors found out why the workers are constantly falling ill. A plague of mosquitoes is to blame for the spread of the yellow fever that is decimating the people. We should drain the swamps in which the infected mosquitoes are breeding like crazy. Until the problem has been resolved, we will face increased costs as we constantly need to import new, inexperienced workers.
And of course, that's not the biggest problem that we must face costs. It's the people dying. So we actually want to stop that from happening, not because they are workers, but because they are human beings. So anyway, They've now basically discovered what is the cause of all the illness here, and that is of course the yellow fever and the malaria. So that was also something that happened in real life. They actually, when the Americans took over the canal project, they started to drain the swamps around the rivers and so on, which actually helped a lot for the yellow fever and malaria, because people started to realize how those diseases could affect the population, and they started to use netting over their beds at night and things like that, and it actually helped a lot. So our goal is we should drain the swamps now, in which the infected mosquitoes are breeding like crazy, and we'll have costs if we don't do that. So there is an incentive for us to do it for the game now. So what we've got to do is we have to connect all the swamps to the network and deliver planks. So there's the planks that I was speaking about. Now we're actually going to need logs for two different things. So if we look here, this is one of the swamps. It's in the forest, so it's sort of simulated there. There's three of them, as you can see on the left there, 1, 2 and 3. So the other one is situated there and by the river. So all relatively close to the logs and the planks there, and we don't have to supply a lot of them to complete that mission. But the great thing about this is once we supplied the required number, which is only 10 there, 10 planks or 10 shipments, I guess, if we abstract it a little, we can keep delivering our planks there and still make profit, which is of course an amazingly great thing for our mission. And I guess we can justify that to say that they still need to drain more of the swamps or something, or reinforce the existing drainage mechanisms. So that's why they keep asking for planks even after that mission is finished. So let me just create another drop-off for each of them. And this is also something that we really want to get in on as quickly as possible, because it will be a source of income for us. And there is the last one. So let me just create another drop off here. Here we go. So now it's a setup again. Oh yes, there's one more. Of course, we can't neglect this one. This is very important. And here I'm actually going to create the big one, because we've got 3 sites that we have to supply, and it will pile up, of course. So now first, new line that we must create. I can let it run at slow speed, but I don't want to waste time, so I'll just not speed ahead while I'm setting things up. So this new line is the one that's going to ship the logs. So I'll just say colon logs swamp, just so we know those are the ones that must go to the swamp project. So that's enough for this one, and create a new line that will pick up the planks now and take it to whichever one is that. I don't know if we can. Let's just click on it. Which one is this? Number 1. Alright, so this is the blue one. So I'll say this is swamp number 1. And we must just repeat this now for all of them. That one I think is probably number 3, but now I must close everything to check again. Yes, that's number 3. No, not L swamp. Things like this bother me. I must fix the spelling here. Alright, and then obviously the other one will be swamp number 2. Excellent. So again, very important to get these things set up right from the start. So now I want to get at least 10 of these lorries for the log deliveries, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why not? And this will be logs swamp. So let's get that going, because it's a short trip. I mean, it's shorter than taking the logs to the warehouse, but this supply must be absolutely regular, because we will rely on it for 3 different supply chains. Then I want to get some more lorries, and this one will take planks. So let's say 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have to count out loud, of course, but it's a habit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's for number 2, and the same for number 3. There we go. So a huge swarm of vehicles leave the depot now. Actually have some traffic jams here in Cologne.
The doctor has encountered a highly interesting species that no man has ever seen before, the Panamanian golden frog. There is a risk of rare animals becoming extinct soon if we flatten their habitats. The doctor thinks this would be highly regrettable. The more damage we cause to these areas, the faster the golden frog's chance of survival will fall. We can counteract this effect through reforestation.
You know, I like this. Some people might not like this kind of mission, but I really love it because it reminds us again of the ecological consequences of our actions. And of course the Panamanian golden frog is a real frog. I think it still exists today, so at least it had a happy story, at least until now. But again, it's so easy to forget, you know, and believe that the world is ours to just do with as we please. And it just reminds us there are other species sharing our living spaces with us, and we have to accommodate them. So this is something actually that we can do as we wait for other things to happen. So let me just read this here. Try to save the golden frog and spare their habitats. Of course I will. Why are we going to be cruel and kill this poor frog? The habitats of the golden frog are marked in green on the map. Spare the vegetation and plant new trees to improve the golden frog's chance of survival. The doctor estimates that an 80% chance of survival should be enough to save the species. And of course we can get a medal from that if we just save the golden frog. Actually I did this in the last time I played through, but it never recognized my achievement, so I don't know why. But if we just look now on the left here, the chance of survival right now is 50%. So it starts 50-50. It's not sure whether the frog will survive or not. But it's possible to get it up to 100%, which I did last time. So let's just have a look while the lorries go off to their destinations. These circular areas here, this is the place that we must preserve. The same with this one there. And I think there's two more. Here by the river is another one. There is another one actually near to the construction site. So I think that's it, 4 of them. And there's already a road going through this one. This one is unspoilt and I will keep it that way. This one has also a road going through it and this one is unspoilt. So I guess that's why it's 50-50. And it's definitely worth doing just for the sake of it. Let me just turn something off here. You see all these red numbers coming off again? You can just turn it off there. Because we know things are costing us money. But now we just need to wait until they actually start generating some profit. So let's start saving the frogs so long because we're waiting. And the way to do that is just to go here to the tree brush. And I guess what kind of trees would these be? These are not going to be conifers. I mean, this is the tropics, so it will be just the broadleaves, I suppose. And this doesn't cost us any money, so let's start planting trees. And what I like to do, just for the sake of it, is to connect some of these forests so that the frogs can actually move around a bit better. So this is just something that you do, you know, when the mission is waiting for something else to happen. So at least that means there's not really going to be any tedious, empty moments where you don't know what you should be doing or anything like that. Here we go. So I just drag it around and it will plant trees there. And I suppose this would be another form of job creation for Panama. Just to say, okay people, we're going to be planting some trees now. And we get a train car there, the gondola, which we don't need right now. But I think we will need very soon. There we go.
The Culebra Massif is blocking the way to the Pacific. A cutting needs to be made through it deep and wide enough for the biggest of all the ships. But the excavated earth will need to go somewhere. Part of it can be used in the construction of mighty dams and locks. Then we'll have to dump the rest somewhere so it's not in the way.
Okay, now we get to the main part of the mission. I guess now we've done that first part where we had to give food and logs for the workers, so that part of the mission is over. However, we can now leave this running because there's still a continuous demand for those materials, so it's another way to sort of finance the mission. Now, this is the part to really pay attention to, and I sort of made a mess of this last time. As they say here now, yes, basically they are now going to start cutting through the Culebra passage here, and the rocks and I guess just the earth in general now must be moved away. However, there's two places that we can use this for, and one of them is actually right here, and another one will be down there. So this is part of the dam construction and basically just the lock construction that I mentioned before. So I suppose this would be part of creating the Gatun Lake here, and I don't know if this would have anything to do with a Miraflores Lake or something, but of course the whole canal system needs a lot of water because it's quite a bit above sea level, and each time a ship needs to move up or down through the locks, water is necessary. So it's very important to have a big lake there. Now, then they mentioned the thing about dispose the remaining material in dump north or dump south. So that is, let's just have a look, again related to one of our medals. Ensure that there is no more than twice the amount of debris in one depression than in the other one. So that's really what it is. If we just go back there, these are depressions in the earth. This is one of them, which will eventually, I suppose, be flooded under the Gatun Lake here. And they're just dumping the rocks here that we don't need. However, the thing is, we can't just dump it all in one place, because what will happen then is, of course, it will be an obstacle for the ships to pass over. So we want to fairly distribute it between dump south and dump north, which is right there. However, that is a secondary concern. The first thing is we must use the material to build the two dams. And what I did was I sent material to the dams and to the dump sites at the same time. And I actually ran out of material. They finished the digging site before I had enough material for the dams, because I was dumping it the whole time. And the mission can still be completed. It will still generate stone for you, but thematically it doesn't fit so well. So we've got 5,000 stone that we've got to work with. That's it. It's still a lot, of course. So let's just see. Transport it to canal dig site, from the canal dig site to dam west and dam east. Supply the dams with stone in a timely manner so they don't run out of material. That's the thing. Click on the question marks for more information about the quantities they require. So let's inspect that before we continue.
All that rock we need to get rid of at the Culebra Cut is great for use on the dams, but once the dams are completed, the stony material needs to go elsewhere. Use the stony material accumulated during the excavation to construct the Gatun and Madden dams.
Aha, you see, okay, I didn't even notice this last time. So I was right on the one anyway. The Madden is the other one. So that's the thing we must do first. So don't dump anything until the dams are finished. So, deliver stone to dam west and dam east. Okay, so they want 2,000 at dam west and 1,000 at dam east. This is dam east. So, this one, which is closer to the canal site, actually wants less. So, we are going to have to really step up our game to ship the other one twice the material. So, okay, they don't say anything there, but there is info here.
The excavated material that isn't used to build the dams needs to be disposed of elsewhere, preferably at a low-lying point somewhere that will be flooded later on by the canal. And ideally, don't pile everything on the same heap, so that the ships navigating the canal in the future don't just suddenly spring a leak.
Exactly, so that's the thing. Deliver stone that isn't needed, so after we finished the dams, to build the dams at the two depressions north and south. A medal can be earned. Okay, so now we've got all the information that we need. Now, this one is going to be relatively easy because the dam site and the dump site are close together. So we can use the same infrastructure to transport the dumping material to this position once the dam is finished. However, the other one is a bit out of the way. This one here, dump south. So we're going to have to work a bit on that one. But again, the first priority is not the dumps, it's the actual removal of material to the dam site. And nothing here is going to happen until we start shipping the stone, because they can dig it out, but if we don't take it away, then this project is going nowhere. So we're going to need a lot of capacity here. And at least we can see now this little bit of forest that I planted. The chance of survival for the frog is now 51 and it's rising. So we did something good there, I think. At least it's a start. So just get up the contour lines again so we can see what needs to be done. And now another choice must be made. Again, I like to plan things out, so just bear with me if this is a bit long-winded. If we want a passenger line running from Panama City to Colón, it's generally got to go through this area anyway. But now, are we going to have it pass through the station where we pick up the stone? I don't know. The good thing is then obviously we reuse the same tracks, but the bad thing is it's going to sort of create a bit of congestion there. I don't know. That's again the thing about maximizing your resources. If you build one rail line up to the dam site, it's not going to take much to extend it to Colón and actually use it also as a passenger line. So I think let's actually do that. I didn't do that last time. Last time I built separate train lines for everything, and I was thinking at that point, that's a bit wasteful, you know. I have to build the same track coast to coast twice actually. So let's see. Okay, money is the problem though, but at least with that in mind we can plan ahead. So let's build a freight station pickup site, and I want this one to be at least 240 meters long so we can accommodate much longer trains. I also want it to be 2 tracks, not 1. But there's obviously got to be no other street connection. I'm not worried about that. So let's put that through here. We can't again build in the red area, so we know this is the boundary where we may construct safely. So I'm actually going to put it around there. So we can still get past on the back here to reach Panama City. Now of course we just have to continue the road here, and I like to use the country roads because obviously this is the countryside. Something like that. I hope this is still going to be within range, but we'll find out soon. No, it's actually not. Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting. Let's delete this section again and try to make it a little bit shorter. It will actually make a difference. At least this is very cheap. It's only a dirt road. Alright, let's see if that's enough. It looks like it, yes. It does. You see this white line now extends into the quarry. I think it does anyway. What happens if I put a station? I just want to check something quickly before we make a mess. No, it doesn't. It doesn't quite go far enough. So unfortunately that's now a bit of an error there. So I'm going to have to delete the station, and that is a bit costly, and this is definitely not the optimal way to do things, but there we go anyway. So let's build the station just behind here somewhere. Unfortunately it doesn't line up perfectly with the back of the quarry here, but something like that perhaps. We can definitely still pass that safely. And I hope this will be enough now. Actually, I like to build a curve there at the end, just for my own, preference. See if that's enough. Yeah, there we go. Alright, problem solved. I'll flatten this bit of land a bit later. So that's now in place, and now we have to build the first drop-off site, which I'm not going to make here actually. I'm going to make it here, because this more distant one, Dam West, is where we actually have to supply twice as much material as in Dam East. So another station is definitely on the cards. At this point I think one station will be enough, because what we can then do once the dam is finished is have trucks basically just move it to the dump site, which is right next door, so it's really not an issue. So I'm just going to put it here, and it definitely does cover the dam construction site. I just want to see, are we going to make it past the swamp area? I'm not sure, because I want to build these trains with a bit of speed in mind. So let me extend this out just a bit. This might now again mean that we're out of range, but at least we'll know that now. Okay, now we're still fine. There we go. So now we can just zip more or less with a gentle curve past the swamp. We don't have to make some weird quick turn there. And then we just go past there and on to Colon. Excellent. So at least we can reuse this infrastructure. So now we've got the standard tracks and the standard tracks. I still don't know what the difference between this is. I know later on the one becomes high-speed tracks. So it might be if you build it this one now, it will automatically upgrade, but I doubt it. I guess it's just a placeholder. But both are standard tracks, so anyway. And we don't have electric trains yet, so that is completely out of the question. So now it comes to the actual construction site, and basically, or not the construction site, the construction of the rail line. And you can see there's quite a bit of a hill here actually. So we're going to get a bridge, unless we are very gentle, up to this point. Then it's going to split off into two directions, but I want to make the more distant one the more gentle curve. So let's see if I just make it on the right hand here. I could let the clock run at least on level 1 speed. You see, that's a bit of an expense there. That is especially ridiculous. $1 million and we only have 5. And that's not even for the high speed one. Let me play around with this actually just a little bit. What if we bring it down a little? Okay, that is 400,000 and that's not even with the bridge. Then from that point, more or less, we'll have to build it like that. So that will be 1.1 million. It's actually more or less the same. Okay, no, it's more expensive, I think. Very difficult to know what to do here. So for now, I think it's only going to be a single track. Alright, let me just pay it. That's better. That's 1.7. If we can just keep it under 2, but keep our maximum speed up, then I think we're okay. We can extend it a little bit like that, maybe. Okay, we can't enter that red area. Okay, approved. Just get it done. Alright, there we go. Very nice. And I like to pretend that once the canal construction is finished, of course, we hand over all of these resources and infrastructures to the people of Panama. Of course, I know in real life the US kept control of the Panama Canal and the zone around it until 1979, I think. So let's just continue onwards. Very important for me that the roads are actually evenly crossed. I don't want strange bumps there. I think that's nice. Alright, approve that. Yes, nice and smooth. Ah, you see we do get a bit of a bump there. Ah well, we can fix that later. Now, the thing about the station at Gamboa. This is going to have to be here. Let me just have a look if I actually build it now. So this will be a passenger station again with two lines going through, but it doesn't have to be as long as the other one. Oh, okay, there we go. That's a bit unfortunate. It's along this hill here. No, that won't do at all. It will have to be here, so slightly outside of town, but we can get a bus service that will connect the central part, but I can't build it here where it cuts into the hill like that. That's just a bit too much, I think. So something like that perhaps. I know that's now an expense and I don't even know if this is where I really want it, but anyway. So which one is this again? This is the right hand side, so it must meet up on the right hand side with the station. Okay, that's another 700,000, but I'll approve it because it's a nice smooth fast track. Then we just have to make some kind of a turn here. Now here's the problem where we start entering into the Golden Frogs territory again. Actually, I shouldn't have turned the station out to the right so much, but anyway, I'll plant more trees to help offset it again. We now have to go to that side, and again maybe we can just skirt the outside of the territory there. Something like that. And what's the crossing like? Decent, decent. Doesn't make a giant bump in the road there. And then if I connect it like that, let's just have a look again on the correct side now. I think that looks nice. Alright, I'll approve that. So we're getting somewhere, but no trains have started running yet, so let me actually just pause again. We've connected everything. Okay, so now we can actually create the depot here somewhere. And I guess because this is our construction site, we might as well build it here. So I can just connect the other side as well. And then we can extend the depot out this way, I think. Just rotate it. There we go, very nice flat area, and of course they'll be digging right next to us and blasting there with dynamite, but it shouldn't affect us, I think. And now I just need to set up the line from Panama North to Colon Branch. We can rename these things, and this one is Dam West, just so we know. And once the first train starts running, I guess we can end the video here. It's been a long wind up for the episode, but it's important to take care of all the details before you start. You know, it's again like Sherlock Holmes said, or at least Arthur Conan Doyle through Sherlock Holmes, that the littlest details are by far the most important. Now, the money is the problem. Is there a thing that tells us not to take out another loan? No, we actually have to spend all our money. So we're actually doing well if we need another loan, which is something else that I said in the very first episode, I think, of this campaign series, and that was very incorrect, I realized. If we just look here on the finance tab, we see that we start out with a loan already, and of course if our money runs out we get another one, but we don't actually pay any interest on it at all during the campaign because it's a campaign mission. So do feel free to take out those loans unless the mission tells you not to do it. So let's get a nice locomotive. This one, the Atlantic, 100 kilometers an hour, 75. The price is the thing though. We're going to have to take out another loan. So let's do it. We might as well. Let's buy the Atlantic.
The money is slipping through our fingers, people. We'll soon be bankrupt. But if we're prepared to grovel on our hands and knees, our financiers will grant us a bridge loan.
Thank you, Krediet aufnehmen. I'll be very glad to do that. Of course, sometimes I don't like to do it just for thematic purposes, but you see our loan is now 11.5, but our interest is still 0, so it's fine. It's part of the mission. We get a grant from our creditors. That's why they say it's not really a loan, although they do say Krediet aufnehmen, credit taking on there. So now we just need the one that moves the stone, and at least we got the gondola, the second one now. It does cost $500,000, more actually. 4, 5, 6, 7. And
good gracious, we're spending money like there's no tomorrow. Just this once, our financial backers are willing to turn a blind eye and help us out once again. But this is definitely the last time.
And no, I'm not going to do it again. I'll keep that as an emergency measure. You only get two financial assists. So let's just let it run. I just wanted to get as many cards as possible to get the demand going, because this will actually be highly profitable. I guess it's the American government paying us to do this, but they're at least willing to pay us a lot of money to move this stone because the project is so urgent. Make sure Gamboa is connected to the street network, and that's a mistake I made during one of my Train Fever Let's Plays. So I might as well have a look at that right now, and it is a bit outside of town, but nevertheless, let's connect it somewhere here. No, I want it to look nice. There we go, something like that. No, that's not nice enough. Again, if you play this and you have OCD, just be careful. That's nice enough. It's nice and curved and gentle and all of that. It's not just artificial right corners. Okay, and the train is running, so I think this episode has been going on quite a long time now, so I'll just stop here, and in the next one we can really get into the heart and soul of this mission. So thank you for bearing with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and have a fantastic day.